Lawmakers are planning to expand safety measures with the Do Not Hire registry.
We'll speak with the investigator behind this story tied to this new bill.
And some voters in Austin are able to head to the polls again tomorrow. We'll have a look at the races that are in a runoff.
Drizzle and light showers have been picking up across Central Texas. Will it remain like this the rest of the day? And what about that next front on the way? We have those details in your first morning weather.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Avery Travis.
And I'm Wilt Dupree.
A group of Texas lawmakers filed a bill on Thursday that would expand access to state misconduct records.
This all comes after a KXAN investigative series uncovered a former juvenile corrections officer was able to work inside a Central Texas high school, all while under investigation for sexual misconduct by a state agency.
Y'all were one of the stories that were reported that shows that there's a gap in the system, and because of the reporting that you had, it makes it even more clear that we have to plug that gap. So that's why this bill exists.
The investigative reporter here at KXAN behind all of this is reporter Kelly Wiley, and she also found some blind spots and delays across state Do Not Hire registries, and is of course joining us here live in studio. Kelly, remind us about this story that sparked this legislation and what you found.
Well, what we found was a perfect example of several gaps in our system. We learned back in December 2023, we learned about a tutor at an Austin high school who was arrested for felony indecency with a child. But we realized that this person had also worked as a juvenile corrections officer and was investigated for sexual misconduct by the Texas Juvenile Justice Department over his time there. The agency actually found that he did have an inappropriate relationship with a youth. He's facing charges in Travis County and Lee County. Our question was, how did he end up working at a school given that investigation? And what we found was, again, a perfect example of several gaps in how state misconduct information is shared. One, Smith was not hired by Austin ISD. He was hired by a third-party nonprofit to tutor. And the database that TJJD would have put their data on misconduct into related to Smith, it wasn't accessible to this nonprofit. They could call and they could ask TJJD about a prospective hire, but they would have to have a reason to call. Think about a resume. You're listing out where you've been, and that's what maybe prompts the person to make that call. But the second part of this is there currently is no functional and centralized database with state misconduct records. They exist in separate databases, but again, they're not connected. Think TEA has one, TJJD has one, but they're not really talking to one another.
Regarding all of that, though, there are some ways that they're trying to correct this, right?
Absolutely. They passed in the last legislature a law that would create a centralized database. So all those different ones for different agencies we just talked about, they're trying to combine it. But what do we know about when these bills get passed, how long it can sometimes take to come to fruition? So all these agencies have been working on that, but it's not in use right now. So we know about a gap that exists, but the solution is still on its way. This bill would make sure that when that database is complete, that third-party contractors who have staff that go into schools, have staff that go around vulnerable populations, like in this case where there was a nonprofit that would put tutors into schools, that they also have access to this state misconduct data when they're making their hiring decisions. So that's what this bill would do.
We've been tightening down these background checks for teachers and administrators, et cetera. There's been issues where contractors that have a really negative criminal background, maybe even pedophilia or whatever else, have been able to get on access to schools. So we're trying to put an absolute halt to that. So that's what this bill is about.
You know, really the definition of a loophole that you shined a light on with your investigation and now this resulting legislation. But what else are the senators or other lawmakers looking to do to really attack this all-encompassing issue?
So for this investigative series, we talked to Senator Betancourt and also Senator Colcourt, so I know you've talked to also about similar things, about these sometimes gaps in backgrounding, and they've both described it as kind of playing whack-a-mole. Every year in the legislature, we do these stories that come out about some sort of loophole and they're trying to fill it. And so one of the things that came up in our reporting, TEA actually said this in the letter to Betancourt when he asked about how did this happen with this tutor. They said, we don't have the authority to make a school district report contractors who are accused of misconduct. We can't make them report it, and even if they did, we don't have the authority to investigate it and add it to our do not hire registry. So that's one thing I know that they're looking at. Also, when we talked about building this database, what else do we know about things when these laws are passed? It takes money sometimes. So one thing we heard from some of the agencies is that they need more resources to make sure that this is on the right track, to make sure that it's in use.
All things we know you'll be following this upcoming legislative session when it kicks off in January. So Kelly, thank you so much for coming on to break it all down for us.
Thank you for having me.
And as always, you can find her full original story in the investigative section of KXAN.com.
First warning weather.
This afternoon, we're taking a live look right now at the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, and the view is a little bit blurred there because we are seeing some drizzle and a little bit of light rain falling all across our area. The cloud cover, though, Freddie, is hanging on today, and unfortunately not too much of a sunny afternoon ahead.
No, I don't foresee the clouds breaking apart enough to give us, number one, the warmth that we were looking for, number two, the break from the rain. In fact, let's go and take a look now at our satellite and radar. This is what we've seen. Plenty of cloud coverage really starting to ramp up and take hold, and this is for everyone who's watching this right now. No matter where you're at, you're getting cloud coverage, and only certain spots are getting a bit of drizzle, maybe some light showers. Unfortunately, these models or these radars don't show us drizzle, so we rely on cameras for something like that. But what we can tell is that we've taken a hit in many spots because of the cloud coverage, and that has kept our temperatures just a bit lower, even with the winds coming in from the south and all the warmth flowing back through. That's bringing us the moisture, but it's also kind of bringing us the cloud coverage, and that means that our temperatures won't rise too much further. We'll stay at about 59 degrees for right now. We could reach up to about the mid-60s, a few areas hitting about 66, 67, but at this point it looks like we will be at least above average. 57 in Dallas and 59 in Amarillo. As Will was just showing you just a moment ago, Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center in South Austin, still seeing some of that drizzle move through the metro area itself. Over the next couple of days, rain chances are sticking around even through tomorrow, even through Sunday, and even into Monday, where Monday we have the best chance of seeing rain. That's actually we're going to hit around 76 degrees. So there's three things we're watching. Those showers and thunderstorms for the next couple of days. We're watching the arrival of the next front and the cooler weather for next week. I'll tell you when that will all take place coming up.
Freddie, thank you. Employees at the Del Valley Independent School District claim the district failed to protect them and others from a custodian accused of hiding a camera in a restroom for years.
Now 35 current and former workers are suing. That lawsuit says the district did notify employees 2 years ago they were victims. A contractor installing vape detectors in restrooms found a pouch containing USB drives and micro SD cards. They turned it over to the district, which in turn notified Del Valley ISD police. This all happened reportedly at the Del Valley Opportunity Center. Attorneys allege that digital storage devices were also found and contained nearly 3 years of images. The district says it received this lawsuit but cannot comment on any pending litigation. Online right now at KXAN.com, our digital reporter Cora Nees breaks down the timeline of this investigation. Tomorrow is Election Day for some people in Austin.
Some voters will see just one item on their ballots, but others will be voting on two things. Voters living within the Austin ISD boundaries will pick an at-large school board member. Fernando Lucas de Orieste and Lindsay Stringer are both vying for that seat, so you'll see those names on your ballot if you're in that area. De Orieste spent the first decade of his career at Austin ISD, largely as a special education teacher. Stringer, on the other hand, is a lifelong Austinite and Austin High High graduate. She's been in public education, she says, her entire career.
People in North Austin will also pick who will represent City Council District 7. No candidate in that council race secured more than 50% of the vote during the general election last month. So now Gary Bledsoe and Mike Siegel are facing off there. Siegel is a civil rights lawyer and a former Austin city attorney, while Bledsoe is a civil rights attorney as well and the head of the NAACP in Texas. The person picked will make decisions for all of Austinites, though, on topics covering everything from parks to public safety.
We are taking a rainy live look out in Dripping Springs. If you can peer past those raindrops on the camera lens, you'll see traffic is still moving. So if you're headed out the door for lunch or maybe to start your weekend, be careful out there. Some of those roads are wet. Freddie is tracking the forecast for us coming up in just a couple of minutes. A proposal at the federal level could keep more monarch butterflies coming back to your yard, but a top state leader says it may be bad for Texas.
This week, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service proposed federal protections for the monarch butterfly. That move would establish the butterfly as a threatened species, which means it's likely to become endangered and possibly go extinct. Federal protections would make it illegal to kill or transport the butterfly for commercial purposes. Landowners can remove milkweed, a key food source for the butterfly, but they cannot make that land permanently unusable to the monarch.
State Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller says he's worried the protections will have negative impacts on rural development.
For no mining, no solar farms, no wind generators, so it just shuts everything down. It's too much. It's overreach.
Definitely some things to consider, some things to juggle there. Now, the federal government said the monarch population that migrates through Texas has dropped by 80% in the past 30 years. Experts say the biggest threat is habitat loss. U.S. Fish and Wildlife is holding a 90-day public comment on the proposal. Commissioner Miller said he will send in his concerns. Will, I know you said you've planted some things in your yard to try to attract some of these guys.
Yeah, it's been amazing. We have planted this one plant, and I can't for the life of me remember the name of it, but it's so beautiful, and it flowers, and it spreads across our garden, and every single spring, and maybe into the fall as well, the butterflies stop by. It's kind of like a way station in a way, so it worked. It's really, really beautiful.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And it's not very difficult to buy those packs of seeds that have wildflowers in them that you can purchase, and you can build a little garden in your backyard, and it's perfect. If you build one area, the butterflies will all just come in.
Speaking of gardens, it seems like they're getting a much needed drink in some parts of town.
For sure. Let's go and take a look at a live image out of our Covington Cellars camera in High, Texas. And there you're able to see some of that low-lying cloud coverage that I was talking about and a little bit of drizzle. Remember, this is causing some slick roadways out there. Take your time if you can. Leave just a little bit earlier so that way you get to your location safe and sound, because we've been seeing that really popping up, and especially on that camera, we saw a little bit of drizzle on there as well. Clouds and radar. This is all the moisture that we're seeing flowing in. This doesn't equate to where we're seeing drizzle or rain right now. All this is showing us is where that moisture continues to flow in. This is a wider radar compared to more condensed radars. In the next half hour, I'll show you one, the one that we have down towards San Marcos. That radar picks up much clearer than what we're seeing here. This gives us just a broad overview of that moisture. So I zoomed out a bit more for the rest of the state. There's everything that flows in from Brownsville all the way through Corpus Christi, Kingsville, up to San Antonio and into Austin, and even flowing out towards Waco and Dallas. All that warmth, all that moisture just flowing back in, giving us the cloud coverage and the drizzle that we're seeing today. 62 in Fredericksburg right now, 66 in Mason, 59 in Austin, 63 in LaGrange. San Marcos at 61 in Georgetown at about 58 degrees. Play this out a bit more. All these little drizzle and isolated showers, the pockets of showers, that's going to continue throughout most of the night. Very isolated on and off. But tomorrow we have a better chance of seeing some of that rainfall, especially as we get out towards the afternoon. And we'll start to see that really start to move out. You may get some breaks in the clouds here and there, but overall, this is what we'll continue to see. As we get into Sunday, things calm down just a tad. And then as we get into Monday, it all picks right back up one more time. So temperatures for tomorrow are going to be much warmer than the past few days. We'll start off at around 62, move to 64 by 9 a.m. As we get into the early afternoon, we're at about 73, and we're going to top off at around 78 degrees for 4 p.m. before we're back down again into the 60s. Way warmer than where we should be at this time of year. We have a few lows that are going to be swinging by the northern plains, and that will allow for those pushes of cooler air to just filter on down. So again, the rain chance will really pick up on Monday ahead of that next front as that starts to approach. And there comes the front, arrives by around Monday morning, but look at that, showers and thunderstorms are possible, and then a stronger front behind that. And we're going to talk about that in the next half hour. But here's a look at your 7-day forecast. 68 for today, 78 for tomorrow, 79 as we get into Sunday. That front comes in Monday, takes down our temperatures once, and then that second front Wednesday and Thursday a second time.
A new year will allow our local leaders to put forward more solutions to deal with all the challenges and the opportunities that come with our area's rapid growth. We're going to check in today with the leader of Williamson County.
Earlier this year, the U.S. Census Bureau reported it is the 10th fastest growing county in the nation. Pretty staggering there. And of course, our guest will have a major role in guiding what actions the county will take in 2025. So this afternoon, we are lucky to be joined by Judge Bill Gravel from Williamson County. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you guys for having me here, and thank you for having me in your beautiful studio. It's amazing.
That leads us nicely into our very first question. You all are experiencing a boom in many ways, but primarily a tech boom. We've got a lot of things that run on computers and chips around here. We know that Samsung has its new semiconductor plant in Taylor, right in your county, and now there are suppliers wanting to build facilities there too. So talk to us about the Samsung facility. When do you expect it to officially open?
Well, so I'm going to answer that question, but I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. So this year we celebrated our 40th anniversary with Dell Computers, and Dell World Headquarters is located in Williamson County, Texas. We also have the largest expansion of Apple Computer outside of Cupertino, California in Williamson County. So we've had a rich history with computers and technology, but boy, the next generation of what's going on with Samsung, currently they're under construction for about a $45 billion expansion at a minimum in Williamson County, Texas. And we believe that they'll be open within the next year, year and a half, producing chips locally. In fact, most of the technology that runs your studio today and that runs all of our computers, my hope is that it's not only manufactured in America, but it's manufactured in Taylor, Texas.
A quick follow-up there. There have been reports of the company cutting jobs globally and even potentially withdrawing personnel from Taylor. Any concern or any insight you can give us there?
You know, so I get weekly numbers of the number of folks that are on the work site, and it's literally in the thousands. Also, I'm well aware of the staff that travels internationally to work at Samsung Austin. I can tell you this, I've met with the CEO in Seoul recently to what we're seeing locally, and we've seen nothing diminish as far as workforce. What I'll tell you is this, though. I think to the contrary of that, we're going to see it move in warp speed, because I'm predicting within the next 30 days that President Biden will be releasing the funds locally for the Federal CHIPS Act, which is well over $6 billion US. So you're going to see it increase in Central Texas.
Certainly something to watch very closely there. We want to ask you about something else, though. One new thing that will be coming to Williamson County next year are death investigators. That's a new position that you all have decided to fund and create. And I understand earlier this week that the county leaders, including you on the court, decided to raise the pay for some of those spots. Talk about when these investigators will start their work and what the benefit will that be.
Well, so you're going to remember, prior to being county judge, I served as justice of the peace.
Right.
And for years, I went on those death inquest calls, and the role of the JP is to determine the cause and the manner of death. And our JPs have, in my view, been overwhelmed and overloaded because of the increase in population. And at the county court level, we're giving them the resources so they can be successful. The death investigators, in fact, will be starting somewhere between January the 1st and January the 15th to provide relief to whom I think are the best judges in America in Williamson County, Texas.
We know that Justice of the Peace in your county really pushed for those death investigators. They also told us something else. They wanted the county to have its own medical examiner's office. What's your take on that, especially as the county continues to grow? You know,
I not only did I serve as a Justice of the Peace, but gosh, we listen to our elected officials. They're elected, they're wise, they're handling difficult and complicated matters. But in all other areas, we have to grow to adjust to the population and to demands. I would tell you, and we've not talked about it publicly until right now, but we actually purchased a facility from TxDOT in Williamson County, Texas. It's a 28-acre piece of property that has over 70,000 square feet. And long term, I believe that will be where a medical examiner's office is someday in Williamson County, Texas. So we have the facility, we have to revitalize that and remodel that, and we have the death investigators. So I think over time, and I mean in the next few years, you'll see a progression from where we're at today to a full medical examiner's office in Williamson County, Texas.
When did the purchase of that property occur? Was that this week too?
Yeah, the great news is you guys didn't know about that. We kind of kept that under the radar. I think we actually closed on the land right after Thanksgiving, or maybe just a touch before Thanksgiving. It's a wonderful property. It was a site where TxDOT would test aggregate and material, so it has specific floors built into it. It has specific vents that are built into it. It's a large piece of property. Look, we had an opportunity to buy 28 acres in the city of Austin in Williamson County, Texas. And it was $18 million, which is a lot of money. But when you look proportionally at what things are selling for in that area, it was a great deal. And in leadership, we took advantage of that, in part thinking about our justices of the peace and future needs there for the medical examiner's office.
It really speaks to just the growth that your county is seeing. And so I wish we could keep you here. We've probably got a million more questions for you as the county continues to grow. Right now, I think that's all the time we have. Is there any final, main priority, if you could summarize for folks in the last few seconds here, heading into 2025 that viewers around Central Texas should be on the lookout for?
Well, I think our viewers should be on the lookout. Our goal is just to provide communities that are safe. Our goal is just to provide communities where kids can be educated and our folks can spend time in our local parks and pavilions and playgrounds. We need and want safe communities in the Central Texas region, but I think what you can keep your eye on is the other multi-billion-dollar businesses that will soon be coming to Williamson County, Texas.
That is indeed a tease. All right. Williamson County Judge Bill Gravel, thank you again for being with us.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Nice to see you. And we'll send you all to break and be back after this.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
Already, families started picking up donations from this year's Salvation Army Angel Tree. The group tells us demand grew from people asking for help in getting presents under the tree for those kids.
We want to check in now with KXAN's Mercedes Hernandez, who is tracking all this for us and has more about today's distribution. Mercedes, how many kids are set to get gifts through this?
Yeah, thousands, 8,000 to be specific. Yeah, we had a little bit of a preview looking ahead to today's toy and clothing distribution in our morning shows, but now those toys have already started going out to those families. Those 8,000 kids all now have something under the Christmas tree to open up on Christmas morning. Now, all of this donation kind of distribution started up with a ribbon cutting that happened just a few hours ago, marking the official start of pickup. Each family going home with a big red bag with at least 2 toys and 2 items of clothing for each child. Now, we spoke to Major Lewis Reckline that heads up the Austin Salvation Army. Now, while he didn't have an exact estimate for how many donations the program received this year, doing the math of 2 toys per child, that's at least 16,000 toys just for this year's program. Volunteers have been hard at work putting the bags together for these families in preparation for today's pickup. Reckline says it's their work and the community support that makes all of this happen.
To take people they don't know, people they'll never meet, and yet want to support them, it makes our job much easier, and that's why we're able to go up to the level of 8,000 children.
A fun fact for you, the Salvation Army Austin has been doing this Angel Tree kind of toy drive, clothing drive since 1979. So this year makes 45 years.
First warning weather.
We are taking a live look now out in Lockhart, Texas, where it is gloomy out there. We see people on the roads headed to hopefully get their weekend started, and we want you to be safe out there because those roads could be slick.
Yeah, I know it's only about 12:34 this afternoon, and it looks much later because of how dreary it is out there. Makes me almost want to go to sleep, Freddie, a little bit.
It really, really does, honestly. You know, we've had these clouds that have been sticking around most of the day, and it looks like they're just not going to go away. This is the one camera I could find where there was not drizzle on the camera, but just as I turned around, I saw a couple of drops already starting to fall. Temperatures at this point, 60 degrees in Austin, 61 in San Marcos, Fredericksburg at about 65 degrees, Georgetown at 59, and Bastrop at about 64 degrees. So this is the other radar I told you I was going to show you to show that we don't have all that rain. It's just drizzle and moisture that's flowing through, because this radar doesn't pick up drizzle. It just shows us exactly what's close by. So let's take a look at your morning lows for the next few days. 63 to start off tomorrow, 63 on Sunday, 66 on Monday, but then a change. We get out towards Tuesday, we see a bit of a drop there, and that's thanks to a front. And then on top of that, we have another front that's expected to arrive Wednesday going into Thursday, and that's going to drive down our temperatures even more after that front comes in. Look at some of these Thursday morning lows, 20s in the panhandle, 30s as you get out towards Central Texas, and then farther down towards deep South Texas, we're looking about 40 degrees. So coming up, we're going to be talking about the soggy day that we're having today, the rain chances continuing, and the cooler weather as these next couple of front arrives. That's all coming up in your first warning weather.
Freddie, thanks so much. We have a correction we would like to pass along now. Yesterday, during our show, we reported that the Armadillo Christmas Bazaar, which begins tomorrow, would be open from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. That's incorrect. The bazaar is actually open from 11 in the morning to 9:30 at night each day from this Saturday to December 23rd. We regret that error.
Austin ISD says it is looking at what's next for the district after making changes to its special education department. KXAN's Barrett Tryon looks into how it's meeting the state's list of demand for these students.
Getting 13,000 students the tailored education they might need. Austin ISD Thursday evening revealing the updates about what's being done to help those with special needs.
To ensure that we have days built into our schedule for two things. One, for our returning teachers, and also ensure that those staff have individual campus training days.
The new centralized system will help anyone access student data and check on progress.
We are now in the process of developing a data migration plan and a professional development plan for the implementation of a new data system.
These changes come as the district's special education department enters its second year under state intervention. The district says it has now wrapped up 75% of what the state wanted done.
We're still working on the data that we have now. It's not that now we forget about that data and focus on what's moving forward, because our staff need good data.
Earlier this year, the district said it has cleared a backlog of students who are waiting longer than what the state and federal law allows for evaluations of special needs students.
Getting updates on a weekly basis and ensuring that if there are any impediments, I clear them. But it is going to be a big lift.
The board has until next October to meet the goals set by the state. In Austin, Barrett Tryon, KXAN News.
Thanks, Barrett. The hope is the new data system will be up and running for the next school year. And for a deeper look at our in-depth coverage from the KXAN investigative team who's been following this topic, you can click on this story. Just look for that in the investigative section of KXAN.com.
The federal government is looking into close calls in the sky and on runways in Austin and across the country. Senators held a hearing about those concerns, and some say it is time to take another look at air travel infrastructure. A recent report found that more than a third of the country's air traffic control systems are outdated. The National Air Traffic Controller Association says the fix requires additional money from Congress. It's asking for at least $6 billion every year for its facilities and equipment. Texas Senator Ted Cruz says the Federal Aviation Administration needs to use its funding more wisely.
The status quo of how the FAA modernizes our ATC is unacceptable.
Throwing money at the problem won't fix it. You need adequate oversight. You need the right people in the right place. You need training.
The head of the FAA says he is stepping down in January. Mike Whitaker only took the helm last October. Up until that time, the FAA had been without a chief for nearly 19 months. It is now getting less expensive to rent here in Austin. The city is #1 for the largest drop in rent prices in the entire country.
Redfin released this report finding a 12% decrease in November rents compared to the same time last year. Compare that to the 0.7% drop seen nationwide. Right now, the median rent price in Austin is around $1,400 for a one-bedroom apartment, the lowest we've seen since 2022, according to Redfin analysts. Digital reporter Kelsey Thompson shows the cities that saw an increase in rents. You can check that out over on KXAN.com.
For more insight, we started to see this drop in Austin rent prices at the beginning of the year. At that time, the cost of one-bedroom units went down 10%. The median cost for a one-bedroom was just short of $1,500. The median cost of a two-bedroom unit was about $1,950 per month. That represented a 5% drop.
The newest class of troopers with the Department of Public Safety is graduating from the academy today. 130 of those recruits are joining the agency's ranks. They began training back in May, and they will mark DPS 176th graduating class. A huge congrats to them. Now, keep in mind, this comes at a time when the agency is preparing to ask lawmakers for a major investment, an additional 500 commissioned personnel. We're expecting that to happen during the upcoming legislative session. We had a crew, as you can see, at the graduation ceremony, and we'll have a full report coming up on KXAN tonight.
We have some breaking news to pass along this afternoon. Authorities have issued an Amber Alert for 2 missing children in Tyler. The suspect's vehicle is a gray Mazda hatchback with an unknown license plate. The missing children are 3-year-old Legend Sanford and 4-year-old Cannon O'Neill. They were last seen wearing black and red Paw Patrol pajamas, a black t-shirt, and black, blue, and red sweatpants. If you know their whereabouts or have seen them or any information to share, please contact the Tyler Police Department.
We want to turn now to New Orleans, where the Riverwalk outlets are getting into that holiday spirit with their giant gingerbread village called Gingerbread Lane.
So cute. This is located near the food court and consists of 5 sections with nearly 700 individual gingerbread houses.
Kenny Lopez spoke to the creator and chef behind the world's largest gingerbread village.
'Twas weeks before Christmas, and all through the Riverwalk outlets, lots of happy shoppers stirring and being enchanted by Gingerbread Lane.
Because there's close to 700 homemade gingerbread houses. We have it set up here in 5 sections. There are about 690 structures in this exhibit. This is real gingerbread, real icing, and real candies. This gingerbread I made this morning, literally.
John Levitch is the creator and artist and chef of Gingerbread Lane.
Beyond fresh here.
Gummy bears, M&Ms, gumdrops, candy canes, all these sweets on Gingerbread Lane remind you of a holiday Candyland.
About 22,000 jelly beans in this exhibit, about 2,000 sticks of gum. Every house has gum on the side of it to create some brick and stucco work to keep the houses firm.
He admits he must work harder than an elf to maintain Gingerbread Lane in Louisiana.
It's beyond challenging to keep Gingerbread Lane functional here in Louisiana because obviously the air is very moist. So we run a dehumidifier. I solidify the houses with a lot of extra icing on the inside to keep them firm, that sort of thing. A lot of different tricks you can do between, temperature controls.
And he knows travelers from near and far visit Gingerbread Lane.
We see people from all over the world because right outside this exhibit on the mighty Mississippi, there's cruise ships docking constantly right here.
He hopes his eye candy on Gingerbread Lane will feel like a walk down memory lane.
You come look at my work and you're in a good mood for a few minutes or 10 or 15 minutes while you're looking at it. That makes me happy. And
Kenny Lopez, WGNO News.
Those are pretty impressive. There was like a second story going on and maybe a third story I saw. That's
some
crazy.
like advanced architecture with those gingerbread houses.
So my question is, do you guys eat the gingerbread houses after you're done making them?
It depends on how long it's left out.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's more than if it's a day, sure, eat it. But more than that, gets a little dicey.
I was gonna say some of those things, like their structural elements, that frosting doesn't taste very good.
That's what I was going to say. I've actually done that. You know, we built it up for class or whatever, and then we eat it afterwards. I'm like, this doesn't taste very good.
No.
I want it to be better.
Yeah, the key is to eat along the way.
Yes.
You've got like the M&Ms out, you know. You
The gummy bears that
yeah.
we saw in there, yeah.
Eat while you work.
Giant gummy bears, that's what I want for Christmas. All right, let's go and take a look. Take note to everyone at home. This is a live look at our Whittlesey Landscape Supplies camera. It's a look outside of Liberty Hill, but if you're asking me, and if you're a gamer, it looks more like Silent Hill than Liberty Hill. That's a whole thing, I promise. Anyway, all right, take a look at satellite and radar for the entire area. We're seeing the clouds continue to roll in, as I've mentioned, all morning long, and it doesn't look like that's going to stop. We have a little bit of drizzle here and there and a few light showers. Zoom out a bit more. This is all the moisture that continues to flow back in. Houston now getting in on the action here with a few isolated showers picking up. 60 degrees right now at Camp Mabry. Winds still coming in from the southeast. So that's what's helping bring in all the moisture. With the winds shifting now, all coming in from the south, we'll continue to see some of these isolated showers that continue throughout most of the day today and leading into tomorrow. Tomorrow, a much better chance of seeing a few more isolated showers. And then Sunday, it kind of drops down just a bit more. You may still see one or two. And it's not until Monday where we really start to see that ramp up in rain chances. Temperatures for tonight, 63 degrees, a big change from just a few days ago when we were close to freezing in many spots. And Saturday itself, 78 degrees. By Sunday, we're looking at about 79 degrees. So let's talk about these rain chances. They're going to continue over the next couple of days, but look at what happens as we start to see that front interact with all the moisture that's here. And remember, you get that lifting, that air becomes saturated. We see showers and thunderstorms. That passes through. And even then, it's not the strongest front in the world, so moisture will stick around. And then a stronger front approaches. We'll get to that in just a moment. Look at the rain totals, though, as we go through Saturday and into Saturday evening, about 8:30. And then we get to Sunday. We're still looking at maybe a quarter of an inch in some spots, a little more than that, maybe half an inch as you get out towards Rockdale and Cameron, and then Milam County up there. And then we get out towards Tuesday, and we've still only seen about half an inch in the north and maybe about a quarter of an inch down towards the south. It's that second front that's going to be the bigger game changer for us because that front has drier air behind it that's going to filter in, and temperatures are expected to drop one more time. Look at Thursday morning. Close to freezing or at freezing in the hill country one more time. And we have a long time to get there, so things could change and probably will change. But this at least gives us an idea of where we're heading towards for Thursday morning. 7-day forecast, a little bit of a roller coaster, not too bad. Rain, temperatures well above normal. The fronts come in, temperatures drop, and then we're back to cool temperatures as we get into Thursday.
People living at a senior center in Princeton, New Jersey got the chance to spend some time with a few older dogs for a holiday party. Around this time of year, it's a time to give and receive love, of course, and you could feel that in this sanctuary where everyone dressed in their holiday best and gave out plenty of pets. The sanctuary serves as a home for senior dogs who have been either turned in from their owners passing away or because of financial struggles.
I guess the people who gave them, brought the dogs here, if they're still alive, they must be thrilled that their dogs have such a good home.
Oh my gosh. The sanctuary is a nonprofit that allows senior dogs to live out their best through their golden years.
I'm gonna cry.
Gosh, I know, literally,
Who did
I'm gonna,
this?
like, immediately just cue the tears because that is the sweetest thing.
Oh,
I love that story.
It reminds me of my dog. My dog's getting older. She's like 11. You see, I'm already going to tear up now.
Oh, don't go there.
She's 11, and I love her, and you know, she's considered a senior dog, and yeah, just I can't.
How are you about to give us the final look at the weather? I'm distraught.
I don't know if I can. All right, let's go and take a look at your out the door forecast. We look at temperatures hitting up to about 68 degrees by 3 p.m. by 5 p.m. I'm really trying not to cry. Take a look at your 7-day forecast. 68 for today, 78 for tomorrow, 79 for Sunday, and 76 for Monday. We have a front coming in Monday into Tuesday, and then another one Wednesday into Thursday. Rain chances continue, but of course, the biggest thing that we're going to be watching is the low temperatures as they return into the 30s by Thursday morning. Just love your dogs. Just
You're a
give
champ.
them lots of love.
Get through that. You're a
Sending you some
champ.
love from over here.
Yeah, you're a champ.
And for everybody at home has those adorable, sweet, older dogs. We love them all.
Yeah, we love them all.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We will see you back here in about half an hour with another update. Enjoy your Friday and your weekend. Take care.